Welcome back to Wicked Politics. I think we've been off for a year, Bob Carson. We want to talk about politics, international, national, whatever comes to our mind. Hopefully, get some guests later on. We're just two average working stiffs who like the political game. And what we say, we don't always, have all the facts, but we'll just share what we speculate, believe, know, heard. And hopefully later on people can comment about. So, Bob, well, introduce yourself again.
Yeah, listen, Adam, it's been a pleasure. My name is Bob Carson. It's pretty much like you described. I've been a amateur podcaster for quite some time, going back to 2008, 2009. I had a radio show on 107.7 The Bronx, the Rider University radio station. I covered the sport of mixed martial arts as a podcaster, and I also had a political show. I was a member of the radical left for many years, and ever since I turned 39, 40, getting into my old age, I've had a bit of a political sort of shift to the middle. I'm an independent now. And Adam and I have been friends really since 2009. I've been on his show, Breezing with Bierman, many times before. And we decided to revive the podcast, which is what you're seeing now, Wicked Politics and whatnot. And it's going to be fun. It's a fun journey. It's a fun ride. And it's a pleasure to be with you and anybody out there watching.
Yeah, you're on Breezing with Bierman. We're on Princeton TV, but I don't mention that Princeton TV with a rather dysfunctional uh, a public access TV station in my hometown of Princeton. Hopefully, our personalities will come out. I mean, we don't have to hit home runs, whatever, triples, doubles. Just talk. Hopefully, be clear. Hopefully, I'll enunciate. My wife says I should show my face. I think I feel more comfortable just not being seen. But anyway, uh, here we are. We decided we wanted you start off. You wanted to talk about the election. What's going on?
Yeah, there's so much to talk about here. We talk about maybe the election. I mean, there's so many issues. Maybe talk a little bit about China, the Ukraine war, everything that's heating up right now. It's hard to say because, as you know, with the news, what's the hot topic now could be something different tomorrow. I remember a few weeks ago, maybe last month, there was balloons. Nobody could stop talking about balloons. Now we're not talking about balloons. Now we're talking about maybe Mexico, the kidnappings, the horrific kidnappings and killings in Mexico and whatnot. But, something like in a general sense that I think about is just politically. I listen to a lot of talk radio, and as you know, talk radio is very, very right wing. But as I've stated in the beginning, I'm an independent. And, if you listen to talk radio, whether it's from New Jersey 101.5, which I listen to, WABC, it's Biden is horrible, Democrats, liberals, blah, 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 blah. And we're coming up, I guess, on a midterm election next year. And President Biden, by all accounts, is going to be running. I believe he's going to be 86 years old, if I'm not mistaken, which is going to make him the oldest president running for re-election and whatnot. And if you listen to right-wing talk radio, as always, it's the sky is falling. He's the worst president in history. Bill O'Reilly, who I listen to, I like, says he's one of the worst presidents in history, whatnot, and everything is bad, so on and so forth. My personal opinion is this: I don't think the economy is great. I think there's been a lot of things that have happened under President Obama that we could talk each individually. However, I don't think President Biden is going to be as easy to beat as some are suggesting. I don't think it's as bad as the Republicans are suggesting on many fronts. Gas prices are still high and they're going up, but they were lower than they were a year ago. Inflation is still high. Yes, it is, but it's lower. It's not unbearable for people. Again, it's still high compared to what it was when President Trump was in office. You have jobless claims. The jobless numbers are down, although jobless claims last week, I believe, went up. So the economy, the state of things there's not everything's not imploding like Biden's opponents are making it seem like, and therefore politically it's going to be difficult, I think, to beat Biden because he's been steady, arguably steady bad, steady mediocre, but steady sometimes is good. And you look during the midterm elections, the last year when we were supposed to have this Republican red wave, which is typically the case when a newly elected president happens. You didn't see that. you didn't see this red wave. So that could be bad for the Republicans. And it depends on who they elect to, whether it's going to be DeSantis or Trump or somebody else in the foreseeable future. I don't know, but that's my take. It's going to be difficult for the Republicans to win, no matter what happens going further. Even though the midterm elections, it's an eternity from now, it's a century from now in
Yeah.
political terms.
That's true. I mean, a lot can change in politics. All I can say is I think Biden's done a pretty good job of Build Back Better. He did cobble together, a package, Build Back Better. He did lower prices when it came to insulin for providing health care to seniors. I mean, there's plans there. I think what he might trick the Republicans into doing is, what is your plan? What is your budget? He'll get them on Social Security. He's very good at that.
Yeah.
And I think also I right now anything could happen. I think Biden has support. He has the incumbent. I think what you saw during the midterm, I think some of this was people are against what I see as like kind of a Catholic the oligarchy on the Supreme Court that pushed back Roe versus Wade. I think you got people actually got out to vote about that. Secondly, I think that enough people were disgusted who might normally not vote during midterm were disgusted by the huge lie of Donald Trump and the insurrection. And these people are basically election naysayers, like, is this a democracy or not? And I think, I mean, God, to me, the people spoke, thank God. And now, of course, with Fox News, I mean, this bias, but it's a false equivalency. Fox News is hand in hand with Republicans. And now it's come out, surprise, that the brass, Hannity, Tucker Carlson, that they always were disgusted by Donald Trump. But it's a business model. They want to make money. They know their core audience, making it even more reprehensible. So right now, I think, no, this president he might go down as, I'm going to put a big prediction. In 20 years from now, things keep on going, he might go down as one of the best presidents of all time. He might. And, now we can, with the Ukraine war too, how he's marshaled together NATO, kept them together. I think he's threatened China. China has, Russia cannot hurt China, but America can help or hurt China. We can help them with trade, investment, microchips, which they need. We've also started with Obama, a blockade, a blockade that could go, maybe not perfect, a blockade of all their ports in case, God forbid, this goes to some kind of military conflict. I think they know that. At the same time, as long as we can continue, and Biden's doing that, he went to the Ukraine. He said, we stand by you. And he showed Putin. Putin, I think, miscalculated. They might have energy. Europe might need energy, but they need the U.S. for security. And we have more to get. We have more culturally, more symbolically, more economically, more democratically, along with those countries, and of course Russia. Who the hell could trust Russia? The Georgians don't. Moldavians can't. Hungary does not want them. Hungary has an autocratic type elected leader. They don't want the USSR by taking control of the Ukraine and being by their back door. So I think we're going to see also Biden getting more lethal weapons in the hands of the Ukrainians to hit the Russian supply lines and hopefully bleed them slowly dry. Because Putin's going to double down. He already has now. I don't think he has any place to go. He miscalculated terribly what was going to happen with the Ukraine, their grit, their fight, and also the military of the USSR. Russia has, of course, underperformed. So I think, I'll put down great president, should be reelected. To me, it looks this way right now. Like you said, anything can change. If a lot of people run besides Trump, Trump should get it. Right now, Trump has that hardcore, 25% of the base. They'll vote for him. Even if they don't like him, they'll vote for him, or 35%. And some, of course, part of the cult, the gangster Trump cult, I call it. But I could see Trump winning, unless that breaks down. Because if you get that core support, you're going to win primaries, especially if it's DeSantis and 5 other people. So I could see Trump winning.
Yeah. Definitely the Republican nomination and whatnot, and the changing the elections are different. I think the elections now favor the Democrats. The way the elections are, we don't have traditional elections now in America.
What do you mean by that?
We have the early voting has expanded dramatically, and COVID helped to accelerate a lot of that. And I think that the Republicans are used to running the traditional elections, the kissing babies and campaign trails and whatnot. And and that's the Democrats have done a better job just adapting to elections and whatnot, and I think that's helped. And also, there are different demographic changes throughout America. I think that have helped. Democrats automatically have a certain amount of electoral votes. Well over 200 votes automatically just by virtue of the states, and that's just going to hurt the Republicans going forward. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see. But I agree with you on your assessment about Biden. I think he's a lot stronger than some in the media want to admit. But you mentioned the Ukraine, and this is something that is definitely on the itinerary today. Putin and Russia launched 81 missiles, these supersonic, some classification of missiles, and 41 of them were able to reach their target, which is kind of concerning at this point. However, the Ukrainian people have fought back. This war has been going on over a year now. Russia's failed to take the capital of Ukraine. And even though they've made some advancements recently in northern Russia, I think that some are saying that without China's help, Russia is going to have to just fight this stalemate, just kind of continue to batter the Ukraine until the people ultimately capitulate. And that's where the United States comes in. I fully support funding the Ukraine. I think supplying them with weaponry and military fighter jets and doing whatever we have to do to stave off Russia and Putin would be great. I also would hope that NATO would approve Ukraine to join the NATO forces and offer them NATO security protection, because that would be possibly the end of this conflict. And then the other thing too is Putin. How long is Putin going to be around? If Putin disappears, if something happens to Putin, that could be a game changer right there. But I'm starting to see some that are objecting to the spending in the Ukraine for the Ukraine. I'm starting to see some people here just not happy with that. So we don't have the money for this. And I don't have a problem with that. And I think we need to support the Ukraine and stop Russia, because if Putin conquers the Ukraine, he's not going to stop there. He's going to go well beyond, as you said. Nobody trusts Russia. Nobody trusts Putin. But then again today, this morning, I heard Rand Paul on the radio say in 5 years there's not going to be a Ukraine. So these are all things that we have to consider going forward. But not doing anything, not supporting Ukraine is not an option as far as
no, we can't go back. Naysayers like that that's appeasement in my mind.
Yeah.
We can have practical suggestions, practical debates about how much money should be spent and where it should be spent, but it has to be spent. And I think another thing Biden has brought to the table is over 40 years of political experience internationally and nationally. I think he can craft together through quiet, soft diplomacy and power diplomacy. He can get things done. And again, the worst mistake Putin did, I'll say again, is overthinking the relationship with China. Again, Moscow cannot really help or hurt China. We can help, and we are hurting them. Again, we are blocking sales of microchips and production of We're now going to produce microchips in this country. We're not going to do any investment or buying any more of their goods. And at the end of the day, if they give lethal aid to Ukraine, I hope Europe itself will start going. NATO will go down the road of even more sanctions and squeeze. They're in an economic crisis right now. We have the leverage. They do not. And they should learn the lesson too that, if you want to invade Taiwan, which I think they'd be stupid to, but then Putin was dumb. I think he has a small, myopic group of advisors who tell him maybe what he wants to hear. And he's probably trying not to get poisoned at the same time. China has to see, look, invasions, this is what I learned in college. I just read it. I have my old notes. These are skeleton. When you invade a country, first thing is you have to have intelligence. Who are you fighting? What are your intentions? What are your capabilities? And what is meant to achieve? Well, Putin failed horribly with his intelligence, his intentions and underestimating, the human element. And China has to see that, and I hope they appreciate that. And also, we are, and I'll end with this: we can do two things at once. We are still a great economy and a great military. We can impose economic sanctions. We don't have to send troops, but at the same time, we can send lethal weapons, which which we need to make more of. And I think more will be coming in the springtime. Again, I think you're going to be seeing the supply line of Russia really take a beating, like Stinger missiles that help the Afghans against the Russians. We're going to see some major breakthroughs.
It's funny because you mentioned Taiwan, and I think if you look at what Putin did and in Ukraine, Putin announced that he was going to invade Ukraine well before he did it. When he had his
And
forces.
Biden had some mold. I think we have intelligence in there
Yeah,
that also,
and it's the same thing with the president of China. He basically announced that he was going to be invading Taiwan, saying he wants to unify Taiwan with the mainland of China. And this is really kind of a prelude of what's going to happen. He said, East is rising while the West is declining. In China, they're building their warfare. They're building their navy. They have, I believe, the largest navy in the world now. Their cyber war capabilities are really, really formidable. They're exercising these type of spying campaigns, as we've seen, as I mentioned, with the balloons, the spying balloons. If something were to break out, they have propaganda, cyber warfare. They have ways to disrupt our civil society, and just kind of foster a lot of disruption here. And another thing too that I don't know that I would say that we have the advantage. Maybe in some ways we do, but we have to remember that our economy is heavily dependent on Chinese resources. Many of our military applications are relying on Chinese applications. The United States, and I was really shocked to learn this. The United States now is no longer able to outproduce China in terms of advanced weapons. That's why I favor military spending. I used to be very, very against military spending, but I think we need to, because we are in a war against China. It's just not a military war per se at this point, and they're gearing up for the future. And God forbid if they choose to arm Russia or escalate their involvement in certain regions of the war, we could very, very seriously have a situation involving World War III. And some contend, listen, this is likely to happen on Biden's watch. Oh, Putin wouldn't have invaded if Biden was in office. Mike Pompeo said, the greatest proof that Putin didn't go into Ukraine was that he didn't do it when Trump was in office. I don't know. That's all speculation and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But look, these are real tumultuous times internationally, and China certainly is not our ally, and that's why we have to start producing things here. We have to start making these S chips. We have to start producing, things that we need here in the
United States. Microchips is the big thing. Yes.
Yeah. So we don't become reliant on our enemies.
Yeah. Well, I think, but beyond, hopefully it's the rhetoric, and you don't know, because of course, what plays in any decision, you have a policy, you have a process, you have politics, and some people overstate or underestimate or overestimate, their power, or at soft or hard power. I think Putin has done. What I think the U.S. Okay, we are still the most. It's kind of unipolar. We're a unipolar world, though. We are still one of the most powerful military and economic force in this country. Not that it can't be stripped. Not that we can't be worn down in certain ways. Look at Vietnam. Again, you fight a nationalist army that is not going to quit until the last man dies. And when you deal with a democracy where things do change and people get thrown out of office, the will to fight does lessen. Now, what I think that China should see, hopefully, this common sense. They cannot afford, short of less of war, a trade embargo, and they can't afford a military blockade. And they understand it's not in their interest. I think Xi Jinping has said many times, what would be best if both the United States and China fully cooperate, work together in some form of economic harmony, and put their common interests and the world's good at the forefront. And that's what I think they really want to do. Beyond the bluster, beyond the slow motion, we do have a shadow war going on with them, but that's been going on for a lot of countries for a long time.
Yeah. Well said.
Sure.
Lastly, let's wrap it up. Talking about something you wanted to talk about, which is woke rot. I want to have a chance for you to explain what exactly that means here.
Well, as a Democrat and just in elections, we have on our college campuses here in Princeton, the university, you have a small but energized cadre of ideological zealots who believe in what these very extreme social cultural positions from transgender on up. And if you disagree with them one iota about transgender, about having teaching about LGBT beauty in kindergarten, then you're the enemy, you're stupid, and you have to be put on the cross. And the only thing that really, besides, I think it's fascism in a way, and it's terrible. Common sense has gone out the window, and people can lose jobs if they say the wrong thing, or God forbid, have a party on a plantation. I mean, again, I guess I look at it this way: the smallest interactions can be seen as like invoking some evil racist creed, and everything comes down to words and what they believe in. If you don't follow it, boom. And what I hate is this: I don't want people in the middle, in the center, in this country going, the Democrats, I like, but I keep on hearing, they want to have, drag queen shows in kindergarten. They want to let criminals go. And it definitely clouds the message. I think a lot of people who voted for Trump might not like him, but they're afraid. They become afraid. Maybe they don't dig deeper when they see this Democratic woke insanity.
You said that very well. I agree, and it's good to hear a Democrat or someone of your political opinion say that, because I don't hear enough of that. I think it's counterproductive. I think it stifles speech. And we're all about speech. We should be inviting speech. We want more speech,
Right.
not less speech. Not I disagree with you, and therefore I'm going to take your job, and we're going to censor you. We're going to ban books, and we're going to ban this, and we're going to ban that, and it just becomes very, very oppressive. And I always wonder who's making these decisions. Like where
I
it's
think
almost
it's
like a
smart.
sniper. It's like, okay, this person loses his job, Disney pulls that book, or Disney pulls this product, and where do, like, if I'm an angry consumer, well, where do I go to boycott the person that is behind this woke,
Yeah.
agenda and all this stuff? I mean,
How does this deal with my insulin prices? How does this deal with,
yeah,
getting a factory up and running again?
yeah,
Everyday problems. And
the tickets, yeah,
transgenderism has become the
exactly.
new civil rights. I really think they need this like this illiberal orgasm. And transgender has become tantamount to like the struggles of the civil rights in 64. Now, of course, no one should be thrown in the street and treated like dirt, but I'm sorry, having a woman in a transgender woman becoming a man and wanting to compete in a race, it's not my priority when it comes to an issue. I don't think he should be allowed to, but it's just not a priority.
No, it's
Get
not.
it?
It's not that the mainstream American people, that they look at this and like, this is a small sliver of people out there that have a microphone and a loud voice, and
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 Twitter.
exactly, and they try to, you're the intolerant one. If I don't want my 6-year-old to to be around my 6-year-old son or daughter, to be around someone in their bathroom that's of the opposite sex, or somebody that identifies as a couch or identifies as a cat. I mean, it's absurd.
Where do you go? Where do
It,
you
it
go?
yeah,
It's
it
amazing.
is. And look, if you want to implement this in the school system, have it elective. If you want to have a class on transgenderism, or whatever it is,
And in the high school, like an advanced, class in high school for seniors and
yeah,
juniors who want to take it.
yeah. Don't force it into curriculum. Don't force it. people to study it. Make the parents opt their kids into it and whatnot. But it's implemented into the school system here in New Jersey. In Colts Neck, which is a nearby town from where I'm at, they had a debate as to whether or not they have to notify a parent if a student identifies as a sex that's not listed on their birth certificate or
You
something
know,
of
come
that
on.
nature.
And who
It
knows
is,
what they're, it's slow down on that too.
yeah,
I'm not an expert on this, but I think a lot of those people think they might be a man or a female. They're probably just gay. But anyway, this should be when they become adults. These are serious decisions to make, and
yeah,
don't start forcing it now.
yeah.
And it's such a loser political thing, not telling parents. Oh, come on. I mean, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And in Princeton, I went through this. So they want to do in some ways indoctrination, not education. It has nothing to do with math, reading,
Yeah,
writing, and
yeah,
cipher. Let's focus on that. Come on.
yeah,
Just yeah.
yeah. Exactly. It becomes and there is a backlash with every political movement or political campaign. There always is a backlash, and and maybe we're starting to see it now. Chris Rock just did a commentary or like a political special, and he kind of had some things about the woke culture and the politically correct culture and whatnot. And I want to see people not that we have to go back to the Jim Crow South and we have to go back to the way it was when you're outright
No one
blatant
is even
racist.
saying that.
Nobody wants to see
A
that.
degree of common sense. And you
Exactly.
can't, how can you have a debate if someone's not going to be uncomfortable? That's what happens. We have
Yeah,
to disagree.
yeah.
And this kind of like I call them emotional hemophiliacs. And of course it could, they want to be in a little veal bubble and not be touched or hurt anything. And I think some of it's political too. It's just a way to shut people up. And
It
again,
is.
on college campuses, it's so on some of these, it's so embarrassingly how
Oh,
undemocratic, anti-intellectual they are. And I can see why you're afraid to speak up, though. I mean, we're speaking up, but you could lose your job. You
sure.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Happens every day without due process. There's no due process. You say something, you post something 10 years ago, you're gone. That's it. And I don't know who makes these decisions. I don't like it.
We
I'm
need
not afraid.
leadership.
Believe me.
The
But
presidents should be leaders. Presidents of the university should stop being leaders and slowly
yeah,
dismantle them.
it seems like the woke rot, the woke culture, whatever you want to call it, it's centralized on college campuses, or it's consolidated on college campuses. That's where a lot of it's coming from, and it
Some
wasn't
bad
like that when I
ideas.
was in college,
No.
but it's gotten worse. It's more politically correct, and I'm sorry, it's not good. It's not something America was founded on, arguably. And I don't want to be a part
I
of it.
wanted more freedom in college. I didn't want people policing me and figuring. I mean, come on and say
Yeah,
what you want to say.
yeah.
That's
I
what
mean,
college is
look at
definitely about.
you mentioned the Vietnam War. I mean, look at the protests. I mean, if we had political correctness or this need not to be offensive, would the war have ended, or would the protests have been that effective? I mean, you could say anything. They did anything, and they said anything. Some of the stuff, they said about the soldiers
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and it's like, okay, but
And they had to pay and also they still pay, but they pay consequences too. And they got kicked out of school, they got beat up, they went to jail, they lost their bill if they became felons, they couldn't get, or they ran to Canada for a long time until Carter pardoned them. They couldn't even come back in the country, but they took a stand and stuck to it. Whether you agree
yeah,
with it or not, you got to admire that at least.
yeah, they weren't
Over stupid,
silenced.
what I thought was a pretty dumb war in Southeast Asia, not because someone somewhere felt bad for a second, or
Yeah,
Halloween, or someone wear a costume you deem somewhat offensive. Oh, like
yeah.
a wick. Don't be a witch because a Wiccan might be offended. Yeah, stop. Just stop.
No,
Wait.
it is, and it's alien. This is arguably a democratic problem because outside of a few pockets in America, this doesn't go well. It just defies common sense, and people don't want their 6 and 7 year old indoctrinated with this crap, and it gets annoying, and it arguably this could contribute to a lot of problems with kids and with emotional problems and we want these kids deciding whether they're a boy or girl. They give them consent to have sex changes and
Yeah.
at such a young age and all that stuff. And it's scary. It really is. It's
And in
really
some cases, I've read, I don't know if it's so prevalent, but I hope not. You have these counselors who are like, yeah, they're going behind their parents' back and convincing these kids, don't listen to the parents. They're stopping you from who you want to be. Let's start your, beta blockers, whatever they do when they're 13. It's criminal. And yes, it will play that if they can exploit that. I think it does play into the hands of undecided voters, middle of the road Republicans on up. Because in my mind, what helped Biden win was, again, there was enough white voters, because it was still white people do vote, especially older ones, who came out in enough force in key electoral states to vote for Biden. And some who normally don't even vote Democrat or voted Democrat for the president, but down the line just voted Republican, because they were so, thank God, so disgusted with what they saw as basically the insurrectionist gangster president we've had, Donald Trump. That's the only way I can say it. Sorry, Fox News. And you don't like him either, but you have a business model that makes money. So you put up with the big lie that the election was stolen. And thank God that happened.
Yeah, well, they're getting sued. I want to see what happens with this lawsuit. They're probably going to lose that lawsuit.
Could
That
be a lot
voting
of
company.
money.
Yeah, that could change a lot. That could change a lot going forward with news reporting and all. They holding these companies, accountable. That could be a watershed
Did you
case.
see the emails though too of Tucker, all those,
Oh
what they
yeah,
really think? And the sad thing is, you have true believers that just, I work with some people who are Trumpers. We don't really talk about politics that much because of that, but we're friends. That's the thing. We do stay friends, and they're cool too. Some things we just don't talk about, It's like my grandfather, when he got remarried after my grandmother died. He married a very Catholic Irish woman, and they just agreed on day one, we're not going to discuss religion. And that's what I do with them. But I did say to them, did you see what your boy, your spiritual advisor, Tucker Carlson, had to say about Donald Trump? Really? And then, yeah, I got, well, both, I got that false equivalency, both sides. And I don't watch MSNBC that much. I don't really know. I'm sure there's biased reporting, but nothing compared to like Fox News and Hannity. Again, it's a show, it's a circus. They have a business model, and they have, an audience they want to retain for advertisers.
yeah, and I'm glad. To me, I'm glad I haven't owned a television in years. I don't watch it. It's so expensive, the cable, and it all is propaganda. I don't. I try to get my news from various different sources, but I listen to talk radio a lot, and I'll go online and see what I can get. But yeah, they're political operations. They are.
Yeah.
You know.
I know I watch CNN, and it's biased, and I think in terms of what they report on, what they focus on, quite biased. But to the degree of, I don't see them working hand in glove with Biden to like sneak to Biden, like, an opposing candidate's next commercial, which Fox News does. Trump, basically was talking to Murdoch, has a straight phone line to him. And people forget Fox News didn't want Trump at the beginning. They wanted Bush, more of the establishment, when Trump was kind of refreshing because he was just different. And when he kept winning, they jumped on board. No
Yeah,
one saw it coming, but
I used to be a big Media Matters guy, and they used to just chronicle all the Fox News bias and the promotion of the Tea Party and all the Roger Ailes when he was alive, and
a genius though, but yes.
yeah, and his relationship with Christie, and they were literally a political operation. I don't know if it's still the case anymore, but now you have Newsmax, and you have other conservative, more conservative outlets. So there's plenty of these channels to choose from. But look, if you listen to right wing talk radio, they assure you that all the media is anti-conservative. I mean, maybe some truth to that, but if you listen to the other
Oh, there's
side,
some bias, sure, but yeah,
yeah,
but look at
I,
them.
I think so. And then the other side, they say, all media, like I listened to Tom Hartman for years, and all media is conservative for four billionaires and buy billionaires and four billionaires.
Well, maybe no, they're successful commercially. That's what they are. Yeah. I mean, I don't think any left wing, didn't they have that one Air America, and never took off?
Oh, it was a bomb. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, but they, I watch Fox News after 7 p.m. It's a circus, but I guess the people like it. The screaming, the shouting, the victimhood. I think if Biden woke up with a cobra in his bed, he killed it, they would call, the ACP, whatever it's called, the, prevention of cruelty to animals, and try to indict Biden for that. It's just a joke. They didn't even cover the insurrection trials and everything. And this pro this pro-Putin crap. I mean, that's sedition. Tucker Carlson, again, he can say it. When God, 30 years ago, if you told me Republicans would be against the FBI and siding with Russia, I'd be like, what planet are we on? Proving that anything can happen. We don't know. These political winds do change. I mean, imagine that. I mean,
Yeah,
but that's disgusting. It shouldn't be normalized because it disgusts me. And I'll say the same thing. Bernie Sanders, I can agree with some things he says when he's kind of like has this love affair with like left wing dictators. It's like, please, that's a little too much. I mean, what, come on.
yeah. These, I don't know, and where do the American people stand on all these issues, and where do they watch, and how does this affect the elections? I don't know.
Well,
I
Richard
don't know.
Nixon, it wasn't race baiting on it. There's a great silent majority, I think, who spoke up in the
Oh yeah,
midterms,
yeah,
who want basically common sense. It is the economy a lot, every day. They also want to feel, even if you don't do something well, I think they want to feel that you are on their side. You were still an advocate for them. And I think that's what people felt for Bill Clinton. I think that's what they felt for Barack Obama, even if they felt, because one thing you did see, a lot of people who voted for Barack Obama then voted for Trump. They wanted someone who they felt was genuinely outside the system and could be on their side, whether that happened or you believe it happened or not, who actually cared about them and some of the real issues they face the government could fix. And that's, and that's what Democrats have to do now. I think that's what Biden's trying to do. He doesn't want to get caught up in the culture wars. He wants to talk about insulin shots. He wants to talk about gas prices. He wants to talk about jobs.
yep,
And also he's going to catch Republicans because they don't have a plan. And privatizing Social Security, which he baited them into talk, and during the presidential, what's it called, the State of the Union speech, he's
yeah.
planting traps for them because they
That
don't
was a
have a
good
plan. They
that
don't
was
have
a
a
good
plan.
political attack point for Biden. That the privatization of Social Security, where the Republicans want to cut. You can't cut your way to prosperity. It's never been a popular political
What about trickle
opinion.
down economics? It's a lie. I don't
No,
believe it. But
and that's why the Biden administration, with their new tax plan, they want to raise taxes on raise capital gains tax, raise the top income tax bracket, and also raise unrecognized capital gains taxes, which are not unpopular because listen, if you have to raise taxes, you want to raise $2 trillion in revenue, you do it from the wealthy. You don't do it from people like me and others that um, don't have the disposable income to pay these taxes. I don't think it's ever been an unpopular opinion with the
no,
American.
I mean, bear some of the brunt too, like we have. And at the same time, I'm not against. I love capitalism. I'm against the
Yeah,
cannibals. And ever since Citizens United, but in both sides, there's so much money now involved, and it's so hard to run. You got there's so much power with these corporations and
yeah.
everything.
We
They're
got 1 minute.
cannibals.
We got 1 minute left. I'm gonna. This has been our first edition in a while of Wicked Politics with Bob Carson and Adam Bierman. We're working on getting some accounts set up, some websites. We're going to be available on Spotify. You can listen to us there soon. We may put up this on Facebook. You can go to my Facebook, facebook.com/Bob Carson. And also, Adam, give people your particulars too so they can catch it on your platforms.
Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, Breezing with Bierman, my YouTube channel. Right now, you're doing, which I appreciate, and we'll be seeing you. We got to get wicked, and we want to get political. We'll hopefully see you about in 2 weeks, my brother.
Yeah, every 2 weeks.